Billionaire Elon Musk is the latest celebrity being called out for his connection to Sean Diddy Combs. As the music mogul turned inmate sits behind bars in a federal detention center in New York, investigators are looking into who knew what and when. We're discussing how Elon Musk could end up in the spotlight as Combs' legal troubles continue to mount. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner, in for Jesse Weber. Billionaire businessman Elon Musk's own comments have him in some hot water online. Some are calling him out as hypocritical for questioning who might have known about the indiscretions of Sean Diddy Combs. Last month, the federal grand jury for the Southern District of New York indicted Combs on charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Prosecutors allege Combs was the leader of a criminal enterprise that focused on fulfilling his sexual fantasies. Multiple civil lawsuits, as well as the criminal indictment, describe what Combs calls freak-offs or FOs. In Cassie Ventura's multi-million-dollar lawsuit, which Combs settled the day after it was filed, Ventura described the freak-offs as sex sessions that would often last for several hours. They required intensive preparation, including setting up a room in Combs' home or hotel with lighting and lubricant, bringing in commercial sex workers, and procuring and administrating drugs to the people allegedly being forced to participate. There's a chance more charges could be filed down the line, but for the time being, Combs is locked up in Brooklyn, New York with no bail. Two different judges decided to deny Combs' request to be released until trial. His legal team had offered up $50 million as collateral, even planning to leverage Combs' multi-million-dollar Miami mansion. But the judges denied it, citing evidence that the music mogul may have been involved in witness tampering and determining he may be a flight risk. Plus, the legal action being taken against Combs isn't slowing down. We told you on an episode of Sidebar earlier this week that Texas attorney Tony Buzbee plans to pursue legal action against Combs on behalf of more than 100 victims. More than 24 of those future plaintiffs say they were minors when Combs allegedly assaulted them. During a press conference, Buzbee told reporters that he's not just planning to name Combs as a defendant.
The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward. Our team has had, at this point, more than 3,285 individuals contact us with people claiming to have been victimized by Sean Combs. After vetting, we now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases. I expect that through this process, many powerful people will be exposed. Many dirty secrets will be revealed. We know what we are potentially up against. As is always the case in situations like this, when a celebrity is involved, people can be downright mean and nasty. You'd be shocked at the length fans will go, no matter the evidence to the contrary, to defend celebrities they love. I mean, there's a reason for this word fans. They're fanatics. I've personally already been threatened multiple times on social media, and when I agreed to pursue this, I expected as much. This isn't my first rodeo. But victims who step forward to have their voices heard should not be subjected to that kind of conduct. They should not be targeted.
In response to Buzbee's news conference, Erica Wolf, an attorney for Combs, released this statement, writing, quote, "Mr. Combs emphatically and categorically denies as false and defamatory any claim that he sexually abused anyone, including minors. He looks forward to proving his innocence and vindicating himself in court, where the truth will be established based on evidence, not speculation," end quote. As we learn more about Combs' behind-the-scenes behavior, which has apparently been going on for decades, many people are questioning his relationships with A-list celebrities in the music industry, fashion world, and entertainment business. We recently looked at his connections to Usher, Justin Bieber, Meek Mill, and Ellen DeGeneres. You can check out those episodes over on the Law&Crime YouTube channel. The latest person in the sights of critics is Elon Musk, the man behind Tesla, SpaceX, and the site formerly known as Twitter. On Tuesday, a user tweeted how many other cases are like this that we don't know about in the music industry, seemingly referring to instances of assault and abuse. Musk responded with, "Good question. Then on Wednesday, after Busby's news conference, Musk shared a screenshot of an article from the Daily Mail headlined, "Diddy accused of abusing a 9-year-old boy and spiking drinks with horse tranquilizers," as 120 victims come forward with shocking claims. Musk added the comment, "How many people in music and entertainment knew about this?" This sparked a lot of discussion in the comments about his own connection with Combs. Singer and reality TV star Aubrey O'Day retweeted Musk saying, "Ask your friends, they will tell you." O'Day has been a vocal critic for Combs for many years, since her days on the reality TV show Making the Band in the early 2000s. On the show, Combs had groups compete to be a part of his label Bad Boy Records. O'Day was a member of the girl group Danity Kane. She claims Combs was abusive not only on the show, but for years afterward. She claims she was fired from Danity Kane for refusing Combs' sexual advances. O'Day also tweeted a broken heart emoji saying, quote, "I ask the universe to project love to those suffering that we cannot reach. Please grant them an internal perspective that helps them to see beyond the here and now and help any victim foster a worldview that this man's abuses cannot ever penetrate. All of you who knew who he was, that paid this man with money or opportunity or enabled him to continue, you all have blood on your hands. I know who you are. You know who you are. Good luck." Combs' most notable connection to Musk involves Musk's takeover of Twitter, which he rebranded as X. Two New York Times reporters, Katie Conger and Ryan Mack, wrote a book about the huge purchase called Character Limit. According to their account, Musk has spoken about Combs in meetings with executives, seemingly as a way to dispel concerns about racism. Musk reportedly addressed a man named DeTavio Samuels, who was CEO of media startup Revolt TV, which Combs founded. Samuels was expressing concerns about potentially racist rhetoric increasing on X thanks to new policies. The authors claim that when Musk reportedly said, quote, "I don't know if you know this, but Puff is an investor in Twitter. You know he's a good friend of mine. We text a lot," end quote. Puff is, of course, one of the many names Combs used during his long music career. Other executives who were present told the authors that the whole exchange was embarrassing. When Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion in 2022, there were rumors about who might have contributed their own funds. That actual shareholder list was revealed during a federal lawsuit over Musk's alleged failure to pay arbitration fees. Sean Combs Capital LLC was on that list. The court document did not reveal how much money each contributor put in, but Combs is rumored to have invested $10 million. Combs' legal team has filed another appeal for bail, and he's expected to be back in court next week. There are a lot of tough stories that we cover here at Law and Crime, and part of the reason we're able to keep bringing you these types of stories is because of our great sponsors. So I want to really quickly thank Upside for sponsoring us. If you're wondering what is Upside, well, it's a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas and groceries. And it's actual real cash back too. The money appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. So here's what you do. You download the Upside app, then claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. I went to 7-Eleven, got some candy, some other snacks, used the app, and honestly, it's super simple. You can use the app at places like Shell, Exxon, and fast food favorites like Taco Bell, and that's just to name a few. So to find out how much you could earn, download Upside or click the link in the description and use our promo code Sidebar to get 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Again, that's promo code Sidebar for an extra 25 cents back on your first gallon of gas. Well, we have a lot to break down, and joining us to discuss it further is former federal prosecutor and president and co-founder of West Coast Trial Lawyers. That's Neama Rahmani. Neama, always great to have you on. It seems like a lot of celebrities who have been known to mingle with Diddy have come under fire or scrutiny after his arrest. But what are your thoughts on Elon Musk's comments about who else knew about Diddy's alleged behavior, given he reportedly said he and Combs used to text a lot?
And no question, every single day it seems like another celebrity, whether it's in Hollywood or in Elon Musk's case, some other part of the country, is being wrapped up in the Combs investigation. And there's a lot of people that maybe regret some of the pictures and tweets they had sent, because apparently, allegedly, if you believe the victims, that there were a lot of other people who participated in these sex acts. And some of the victims are even saying that there are people who are even more well-known and more famous than Diddy. And I could probably count on maybe two hands the number of people who are more famous than Diddy. And not to accuse anyone of anything, but of course Elon Musk would be one of them.
And it seems that Diddy's connection to Musk really stems from Musk's purchase of Twitter, now known as X. But what are your thoughts on the backlash that he being Elon Musk, received from posting that comment on social media? Given Elon Musk's power and connections into Hollywood, do you think he made that comment to spark conversation about the newest allegations Diddy faces, or to kind of be controversial in a way?
Well, Musk is no stranger to controversy, and he'll dive right in, whether it's, political firestorm, obviously buying Twitter and taking it private. And apparently Combs was an investor in Twitter, or at least according to Musk. So obviously they have some sort of professional relationship. It appears they have a personal one as well. They've been photographed together at the Chappelle comedy show, I believe. I don't know if there's any pictures of Musk at one of Diddy's parties, and certainly we haven't heard anything about him being at one of the freak-offs, but obviously more and more people are coming forward every day. We have male and female sex workers. There's allegations of sexual abuse of minors. If you believe the lawyers who are representing some of these civil plaintiffs, they're going to file more than 100 lawsuits in the coming weeks and months. And of course, we already know that there's 9 or 10 plaintiffs who have already come forward and filed.
And of course, we'll deep dive into that in just a little bit. But for now, it was also interesting to see Aubrey O'Day's response when she replied, "Ask your friends." What do you make of that response, especially given that in a way Diddy's behavior was this kind of open secret in Hollywood?
It really was one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood. And obviously there were rumors about what happens at his infamous parties for years. And it really took Cassie Ventura to come forward. Obviously, that's Diddy's longtime a girlfriend of more than a decade. And once she filed her lawsuit back in November, that really sort of motivated others to come forward. With respect to O'Day, obviously she's been critical of, obviously Diddy and Musk's relationship. But whenever you have someone in the industry who's coming out and making these allegations, you really have to start investigating. If you're law enforcement, say, like, what does, O'Day know? What do others know? Who else was there? Because we've all seen the videos. We've all seen the photographs. Of course, the worst video being the 2016 beating of Cassie, but we've all seen lots of pictures of folks who were at Diddy's parties. So whether they were participants or mere witnesses, I think they'll have a lot to say in this case.
In your opinion, do a lot of the big names who either had prior personal or even business relationships with Combs need to be worried right now?
No question. If I were someone who had, especially any type of personal relationship with Diddy, even if I was at one of Diddy's parties, I would be talking to a lawyer. Obviously, if they were participants in the freak-offs and the sex acts, especially if we're talking about acts involving minors, there's significant criminal exposure. There's mandatory minimums for the sex trafficking. But even if you're a witness, I would potentially be concerned. You may be dragged into a very public trial. We know that this case is unlikely to resolve. Diddy's likely going to push this case all the way to trial because there's really no deal to be had. So if you're a celebrity and you were even at say you were just at one of Diddy's parties, but you didn't participate in the sex act, you still may be a witness because there are allegations that the sex workers at the white parties had to wear black. So maybe that's something that you observed. Maybe you can corroborate some of the stories of the other victims and witnesses who are testifying. So we know that given the high likelihood that this case will move forward, the fact that there's been a lot of civil lawsuits, we're looking at a lot of trials and a lot of potential witnesses. So those celebrities should be talking to a lawyer right now.
And I think a lot of people may see Diddy's arrest as kind of the start of the fall on the music industry in Hollywood, that being that they think a lot of others will get exposed, that we were just kind of discussing a little bit. But in this case, do you see that happening, that a lot of people might, end up, I know you had just mentioned that you think that a lot of witnesses to his parties and stuff like that might be called into court, but do you see this kind of fall on Hollywood happening in the wake of Diddy's arrest?
Frankly, I thought we were going to see more in the indictment that was unsealed by the Southern District of New York, because so much time had passed. The lawsuit was filed by Cassie in November. The raids happened of Diddy's homes in March. The video of the beating was released by CNN in May. And now we're in October. It's almost a year later. And I expected some other individuals to be indicted, at least named in civil lawsuits, because so much time had passed. But perhaps people are taking a really cautious approach. I can see that from prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan. They've taken actually a very similar cautious approach. In the Mayor Eric Adams indictment, they haven't really charged all the other participants in that conspiracy. So maybe they want to just targeted focus on Combs, but there has been a lot of criticism, like you said, of the music industry and obviously the entertainment industry with Weinstein and others. They did have their Me Too moment, but I certainly wouldn't want this to be another Epstein type situation where maybe individuals who were allegedly participating in the acts don't face the justice that they should.
And with new attorneys being added to Diddy's version of an O.J. Simpson-like defense dream team, they're kind of pushing for his appeal, to appeal his detention order, I should say. Do you see that being successful the third time around?
I think it's unlikely. And obviously, we know that Diddy has essentially unlimited means. He's reportedly worth $1 billion. Even if he's taken a hit, he's well into the hundreds of millions of dollars. So he's going to have the best and probably one of the largest teams of defense attorneys that we've seen in recent memory, because there's really a huge challenge here if you're Diddy's lawyers, not just with respect to bond, but just every day, to the extent that more witnesses and victims come forward. It's very hard to argue that these sex acts were consensual. That's what Diddy's lawyers have said publicly, that yes, they happened. They weren't necessarily these large orgies or anything like that. There were threesomes and they were all consensual, and that's what the freak-offs were. Well, if you have hundreds of individuals who are telling a different story of physical and sexual violence, that's difficult to overcome. Now, with respect to bond, these crimes do carry a presumption of detention, and Diddy is looking at decades in federal prison. Now, I know his lawyers had a very creative bond package, a $50 million bond with round-the-clock surveillance by former law enforcement, cameras in the house, a visitor log, no cell phone, no internet. But the question I have, and the question the Second Circuit Court of Appeals is going to have when they look at this detention order, is any other criminal defendant would be detained if they were facing these types of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Why should Combs be treated any differently because of his fame and his wealth? So I expect the Second Circuit, that three-judge appellate panel, to affirm the detention order by Judge Carter in this case.
And like you had just mentioned previously in this interview and previously when we had spoke, that you had said that the indictment was underwhelming. Given the latest wave of accusations, that being more than the 100 alleged sexual assault victims in Texas, some including minors, do you see a superseding indictment coming in Diddy's case?
I do, especially if those 25 minor victims are credible. U.S. Attorney Damon Williams said the investigation is ongoing, and I don't think he can ignore minor victims. And minor victims are important for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, our laws are supposed to protect minors. That's what they're there for. But minor victims can't consent to sexual activity. So the difference between consensual sex and sex trafficking is force, fraud, or coercion. That's why Diddy's lawyers are saying that it was consensual. That's going to be their legal defense in the case. But because minors can't consent, there's really no defense there unless Diddy's going to argue that sexual contact didn't happen at all, that it wasn't him, or they're lying. So it's important both in terms of protecting the victims, but also to really get around one of Diddy's key defenses in the case.
Now, say that you're prosecuting this case and putting your prosecutor hat back on. What kind of evidence are you going to be tackling if you were the one to be trying Diddy's case?
The best evidence in this case is the video evidence, because witnesses can lie, even victims can lie, but video doesn't lie. And the example I like to give, I keep going back to that video at the Intercontinental Hotel here in Los Angeles, where I am, Combs beating Cassie. The reason why that's so important is up until that moment, Diddy and his lawyers, their strategy, both legally and in the press, was to deny. And after that video, there's no denying that an assault happened. So Diddy came forward. He gave I would say, not a wholehearted apology on social media, but he did say something. It just goes to show the power of video evidence. So apparently, if you believe the victims and you believe Cassie, which I do, he recorded many of these sex acts, and he maybe did so to have a leverage over the other participants, maybe blackmail them or extort them. The irony here is, of course, that those videos are going to be used against Diddy at this trial. So he may have created the evidence that may ultimately convict him.
All right, Neama, I really appreciate your time and insight to this case. Before we sign you off, anything else you'd like to add?
No, this case has everything. It has celebrities, it has sex, it has drugs, it has violence. I mean, that's why we're going to be tuned to this for the coming months and maybe even over a year.
All right, Neama Rahmani, again, I appreciate your time today, and thank you. It's always great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that does it for this episode of Sidebar. You can check out more episodes and subscribe to us anywhere you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. I'm Elizabeth Millner in for Jesse Weber, and this has been Sidebar presented by Law&Crime.